Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker and I'm your host. And as you know, I'm always looking for interesting people. People can give us a different perspective, share a good story that in itself can shift our perspective. And today we're going to talk about an important topic, which is about cultivating relationships. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this because when we talk about taking back time, nothing wastes more time than poor communication and poor relationships. And I'm excited to have Chuck Hogan here with me. He is an expert in this space, and he's managing partner at Your Best Life, an organization helping people to elevate finance, family, fitness, and faith to maximize their best life through mentoring, strategizing, community, exclusive, once-in-a-lifetime experiences, which, hey, I love those for sure. I'm an experienced person. And his unique background of sales, business, and relationship building gives him a rare perspective, which is what we're looking for, to enable him to successfully guide entrepreneurs, CEOs, and top executives to new heights. So Chuck, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Penny. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So you've intrigued me with your intro. So you have a unique perspective. So what do you think is the unique element that, based on your varied background, right? We all have different experiences and come from different places, but what's that unique twist that you bring? Let's start there. I think we'll just go into the meat of it.
I appreciate you bringing that up. It's very interesting in today's climate that uniqueness is something that's actually become kind of lost with the advent of social media and AI and influencers and people trying to find public forums. They've actually branched out. And when we start to look at, I'll say, the ideology of role models. So I'm in my mid-50s, and I remember that growing up, if you wanted a role model, you could read books, you could take a course, but they were kind of clunky. We're talking like beta VHS video. And then I met this guy named Tony Robbins about 25 years ago. And I spent about 22 years with Tony as a senior trainer and cultivating my skill in relation to people. And here's what I started noticing that was unique, that we're not that unique, that we all have the same insights, distinctions. We all have the same patterns, and there are so many of them. People go, gosh, there's an infinite amount of words in the dictionary for emotions. And I said, no, there's not. No, there's not. There's about 264 in total, and that's stretching it. That's with superfluous things and things that are on the outer fringe. And then I started to realize that the uniqueness in human beings is that we're all at our core 3 years old, and we're aspiring to meet three needs. And it's kind of funny because if you ask a 3-year-old how they're feeling, not how they're doing, how they're feeling, they'll say happy, sad, or okay. And you're like, wait, Chuck, life is much more complicated. And I go, yes, you'll use very inflammatory language to say, oh, I'm so incensed over that. I'm like, oh, the level of aggravation, the pretentiousness of that person. I said, that's great. You're a walking thesaurus. And at the end of it, if we boilerplate it down, we turn on the heat or the cold and get it right down to brass tacks, you're happy, sad, or okay.
Yeah, I love simplification because I think it just cuts through the complexity that we create that keeps us from the messages, that keeps us from connecting, that keeps us from what we really want. So I think that's brilliant. I think it is true. I might extend them just a little bit. I might make them maybe more like anger, sadness, hurt, fear, guilt, shame. Like I might go with those 5, but at the end of the day, we are all our 3-year-old. I love that.
And I started deciding early on that I was going to communicate at a 5th grade level. When I'm in presentation on stage presenting to anyone and they're like, well, why 5th grade? I said, because everyone gets it. Everyone. Like, you don't have to be a PhD. You don't have to have your MBA in business administration or neurostrategist, neurolinguistics programming, neurosocial conditioning, hypnotherapy. I go, time out. I go, we're people. And one of the nuances that I've found, Penny, which has been really interesting with folks, and this became an authentic truth, is that most people are chasing wants and not fulfilling needs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, and in fact, it's even kind of categorized as that because that's our languaging patterns. We'll actually ask people, hey, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yep.
go, your wants change like the wind. You, you need food and nutrition. What you want is a steak, or if you're a vegetarian, what you want is an Impossible Burger or an organic salad. I said, but at the end of the day, how you meet the need becomes part of our personality. But what the need is innate. And it really boilerplates down to about 6 of them at this time, which is kind of interesting. And if you go, oh, you need air, I know you need air because without it, you're gone within minutes. You need water, that's days. Food, that's weeks. You need shelter. And then there's 2 that are actually a little bit more spiritual in nature. As human beings, we seek love and connection. We'll settle for connection, but what we really aspire for is love. And the last one is, and it's so simple, is joy. Most people are seeking it and feel abandonment around that topic. And it's like, oh, why? Because they're not living in their joy. In fact, they're having a very difficult time in finding any gratitude. And I started to blend this together with something that Mr. Robbins had said. And he goes, well, hey, there's 6 human needs. And I go, awesome. And I said, so what are they, Tony? He goes, well, there's certainty, there's uncertainty, which is variety, because we need some of that. Because if you just keep having steak every day, I go, I have the meat sweats and I'm kind of done with this. And significance. And then there's love and connection, which is the one that crosses over from both spheres. And then there's growth and contribution, which are definitely more spiritual, more elevated.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, let's ask the question then. Then if we know this intellectually, cerebrally, then why aren't we living there? And I was like, okay, the myth. And the myth was you can do anything you put your mind to. That's an interesting concept, but I know a lot of people that change their mind like they change their undergarments, at least.
Yeah.
And I was like, so why do I go there? Said the truth is that when you're impassioned and you have a thirst, a hunger, a drive, you can do anything that you put your heart to. Because now it's no longer a have to in your head, it's a get to in your heart. And that simple choice in designation of have to get to, or get to by comparison to have to, is so empowering. Is that now that means that you get to impart within yourself this opportunity to choose where you're investing your time. And you're utilizing exactly what you said. And thank you for that, my sister, because I'm telling you right now, time is the one thing that's fleeting and you don't get to manifest more of it.
Show up for it. Like you just said, I want to come back to so many things in there, like to talk about and to unpack, but you didn't say happiness, you said joy. And I think that's so important because I think people are searching for the happiness. They're chasing happiness when moments of joy are all around them and they may not consider that happiness. So let's just talk about a little bit the difference between joy and happiness and why choose joy. And I love the word joy. I don't know why. It's simple. It's a 3-letter word. I don't know. When I hear it, it makes you feel joy when you hear it. Like happiness doesn't make me feel happy, but joy makes me feel joy.
From the time that you're 3, happiness is around meeting wants and needs. And so at 3, your needs are being met by your parents. There's food, there's shelter, there's love, there's all these different nuances. And so when you're 3, you live a want lifestyle. Whatever you see on commercials, comparison, I want that. And so it becomes very much a self-centered way of living, which is understandable. And yet there's still empathy. And when a child feels joy, it's not attached to things and stuff. It's mostly attached to an emotional, deep-seated well-being within themselves that elevates them. And it's the ability to understand that there's an energetic frequency that's tied to everything. Every single emotion, every single action, it resonates at a frequency. And joy is one of those that's right up there with ecstasy and rapture and like complete fulfillment. They're like, what? Because when you're joyous, it's a celebration. And I choose to use that languaging because I'm finding so many people that don't find the celebration in happiness. They think birthright, that they should just be able to be happy. And I go, okay, you're probably addicted to hopium as well. And they're like, hopium? I said, oh, it's more addictive than sugar. It's the emotional state of hoping that things are going to get better. You don't need to be an active participant in your own salvation. You just need to hope it. And through the secret and manifestation and wishing it's going to come true. And I said, that's not the way it works. But I can tell you this, life is like Amazon. If you type it in, you send in the request, you're going to get what you've asked for. There's a difference though. Are you home to receive the gift? And home isn't just your physical home. Home can be, are you in the state? If joy and happiness and prosperity and adulation and fulfillment are all flowing your way, yet are you in a state at home where you can receive this graciously and really celebrate it? Because I will speak for myself, Penny. I was a horrific celebrator. I'm a brilliant forecaster. I'm amazing at co-elevating and hitting goals and benchmarks and standards and meeting KPIs through SOPs. And I'm like, woo, this all sounds great. So my standard operating procedures were supported by key performance indicators. And I'm like going, all my years in business. And then I was like going, am I happy? And I was like going, well, kind of. I go, am I joyous? Am I feeling joy? And I'm like going, oh, that's me. Oh, oh. And they're like, oh, what do you mean? I said, well, why is it so many people believe that they spend the first half of their life amassing wealth? And then for some reason, when they hit like in their 60s, they start spending all their wealth, trying to search for happiness, joy, magic moments. And I go, wow, they're not mutually exclusive.
Right. Why aren't we living them all the way along? I just want to throw in there because I'm celebrating and joyous about a new book that I have coming out. And I talk about reset moments.
Yes.
And I do want to come back to what we're talking about and how that relates to relationships, because we said we were going to talk a little bit about relationships. But I believe that if we take more of these reset moments, that we're going to find more joy because they help us to be more intentional, kind of checking in with ourselves, right? To say, like you said, is this making me happy? Is this bringing me joy? In what state do I need to be in order to be present, to have more joy in the journey or the people that I'm with and so forth? I know you don't know anything about the concept, but I'd love to hear what your take on is, just hearing sort of that about how what you talk about, what would an example of a reset moment be in the world of what you talk about?
It's actually a practice that I profess. And I often say that I'll equate it to driving a car. If you're driving from California to Las Vegas, anyone who's ever done it, it's a wide swath of open highway with a whole bunch of nothing. You literally can put the pedal to the metal, and people do, because they can see for 10 miles down the road. It's not until they get into the foothills where you start to have some switchbacks. And it's what you can't see. And for some people, they still will say, I'm putting the pedal to the metal. I'm going to make great time. And here's what I tell folks. Indiscriminate speed in any part of your life kills, because some people call it momentum. And I go, no, it's assumptions. And you're assuming that no one's broken down. You're assuming that no one's crossing the road. You're assuming that there isn't a dust storm ahead because you can just see the next 10 miles. So we think that the forecasting is clear. And I said, okay, great. They said the same thing about depressions, recessions, stock market crashes. Yeah, the answer is yes. So to your point, I believe in taking what I will call a moment of patience. And it's slowing down.
Exactly.
So that we can actually physiologically, and this is where I get into a little bit more of biohacking and neurosciences. When we do deep breathing exercises, and I teach this quite a bit, I said, breathe in through your nose, out your nose, increase your nitric oxide levels. You can do box breathing. There's a bunch of different techniques that Navy SEALs, people who have been trained to control their nerves and their, not just their IQ, but their EQ, utilizing their intellectual intelligence to the highest level. They also exercise their emotional intelligence. And in order to do that, there is an opportunity to have the vagus nerve, which literally runs mid-sagittally from the top of our head down right through the middle of our body. Slowing down your breathing will actually allow the EKG of your heart and the EEG of your brain, the waveform, to go into sinus rhythm together. It's also known as heart mapping, heart math. The nice thing about this, Penny, is that it literally resets the opportunity for you to get out of your head. And it's the most ironic thing because we call this the source. And I go, no, it's gray matter, which is ironic because it only likes to deal in binary. That's why computers were created after the human brain. Zeros, ones, X's and O's, black and white. And I was like, okay, the gray matter is actually looking for substantiation because it doesn't know what's negative or positive. It only knows facts. It's looking for evidence. And so where focus goes, energy flows. And I say, when you slow down and you get out of your head, you're not just making a cerebral decision, you're making it with the benefit of your values and you with the benefit of intellect, not the opposite way around where you're living in reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so to your point, that reset moment, that practicing patience is literally slowing down and centering yourself. When we are in reaction, if you were to actually look at someone's frequencies, you would actually see that when they've entered into judgment or being critical, not curious, their energy level drops, their frequency drops. When they go into a state of gratitude or they slow down and they get out of their head, there's a saying, head dead, heart smart. You literally offer yourself the opportunity to reset your CPU. It's kind of like you're the virus to yourself at that moment. And when you take that moment to reset, you're resetting your operating system back to its core intelligence, which is you. And I developed this saying around this, and it's something that served my family. My eldest is now 24, my youngest is 17. And I started realizing many years ago that people will answer the questions that we ask of them. And so I started asking and listening, and I was like, going, wow, when we changed one word in the equation of the question, it changed the entire response.
Yeah.
And so the difference was I stopped asking people how they're doing. I started asking them how they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, come on, what's the difference? I said, when you ask someone how they're doing, you are literally getting a report card of their doings.
Yeah.
And I actually found this out with my amazing wife, Julie. We've been together 37 years. She's the love of my life. She still tolerates me, which is just a blessing on all kinds of levels. And here's what's interesting, Penny. I ask her if I say, hey, Jules, how was your day? Oh, boy, because I'm going to get a meta report. If it was 1,000-sheet roll of toilet paper, there'd be a response for every sheet. Like, we're going to be there for a minute. And it's not that I'm trying to be rude or disconcerting. So I started changing my ask and I said, hey, sweetheart, how are you feeling? Because the quality of your life is in direct proportion to how you feel. And I would get this really, I'm not saying it was abridged, it was just deep. I'm really good. Or, hey, it was really challenging today. Like, well, tell me about some of your challenges. What did you learn from them? And it was so much more substantive conversation than just asking for a list of doings.
Yeah. Words have energy and they're powerful and we take them for granted. And we can learn a lot from the words that come out of our mouth as well, because when we listen or we journal, right? And then we can go back and look at it and circle those words. What are the energy of those words? What are we actually saying? And what's keeping us from the experiences we want to have? Like you said, that just being that much more intentional. And let's use this a little bit to talk about relationships because we only have a few more minutes left. If we're a little bit more intentional, like you were, about the questions that you're asking and the words that you're using as you're interacting, you are going to get a different result and you are going to show up differently. And just that, right? If you can connect at a feeling level versus a doing level, you're already going to have a deeper and more connected conversation than if it's just somebody ranting and going through all the things and that doesn't serve them either, right? To go through all the things that didn't go well today, that doesn't serve them either.
No.
But let me challenge you with something real quick, if you don't mind.
Please.
So we come from a similar world. You know, I have been in the Tony Robbins world for a long time as well. At the end of the day, somebody says, I'm frustrated. I had a frustrating day. Mm-hmm. So I heard you say, what did you learn from that? And I'm a total believer that we need to take in those lessons and put them into action. But there's a timing issue there, right? If somebody just shared with you that they are frustrated, do you go right into, because I want people to, they may not have heard the way that you actually do it. So you go right into, well, what did you learn from that? Or how do you navigate the conversation so that you bring them to a healthy place, but they also feel heard? Because I feel like if you were to say that right away to me, I would not feel satisfied. I would not feel like the connection, right? I'd feel like you were taking me somewhere versus being with me.
Well, first of all, be in rapport with someone. Make sure that there's a connection, there's an understanding that no one cares what you have to say until they know how much you care. So what is the state that you're in? I choose to live the majority of my life in a state of curiosity and not being critical. So eliminating judgment. Because in fact, I don't even call it self-development. I call it life enhancement. I don't believe anyone's broken. Mm-hmm. They're just little tweaks that we're all looking for. And we're doing the best that we can with the resources that we have. So to your point, if someone said, "Oh, Chuck, I'm so frustrated," I was like, "Oh, so can you share with me what was great about today? Anything, anything." Well, I'm here. I woke up. I get to have a conversation with Penny, and then this is lovely. This is a great engagement. Okay. So what was it specifically that frustrated you? Oh, well, this always happens. I'm like, okay, always? You've never had a time when, well, come on, Chuck, but today I said, no, I get it. And I'm not being dismissive. I'm curious because there's something about this that's really got you charged right now. And so what if for a moment, I mean, we don't have to, but you get to, if you decide to, look at this from a slightly different perspective. And frankly, between you and I and the fence post, if you want to stay perturbed, pissed off, and aggravated, then that's your choice. But we'll just call him John. But John, I know you. And there's something that really is aggravating you. So has this ever happened to you before in life? Have you ever had a similar experience? And I'm like, whoa, that seems like you're really familiar with that. Mm-hmm. Well, you don't need to talk about it, but can I ask you a question? The last time you had this feeling, was there something that you engaged in or you remembered that allowed you to feel a different way that you chose, but not living in reaction? And he goes, well, yeah. I was like, oh, cool. Well, let's go back there for a second. And what did that feel like? What did you realize? It might not even been a lesson at the time. What was just something that came on your radar? And you're like, you know what? I didn't sleep very well. I'm like, oh, well, how'd you sleep last night? Not well. Oh, so we can find some patterns that are happening in this. But the truth of the matter is, you get to decide to feel the way that you need to feel. And as long as you've chosen to be upset, he goes, come on, man. Like, who chooses to be upset? I said, oh, some people do, because it meets their needs at an uber high level. They're a rage man, and it's like, oh, okay. Oh, he goes, but I'm not. I said, no, I know you're a lover, not a fighter. I get that. And so how are you feeling now, by the way? He goes, I'm not frustrated. Oh, good. They're like, what'd you do? I said, nothing. We're having a conversation. You're not being handled. No one's doing a double disassociation, a neural learns flexibility drill. No one's doing a change personal history. No one's doing a process with you. We're two people communicating. And here's the thing. When we communicate clearly in our authenticity, we release energy that fuels the way that we need to feel. And it also fuels the way that we may not choose to feel intentionally. So what if there were just a bunch of possibilities?
Totally. There's just a bunch of possibilities and we get to choose. We are at the end of our time together. So I guess what's the one thing that you would say, as we talk about creating these relationships and these connections, what's the one main point that you want to leave people with?
That when you switch from a me ideology to a we ideology, and it's real simple. When you think about me, M-E, and all we do is switch it to we, it starts to expand on the ideology of who we really be and why. Oftentimes, we will think that self-care is selfish. And I go, no, it's necessary for you to fill your cup in order to be better for we. And understand that fueling you and feeding you is actually fueling and feeding the ones that you love most in your life as well.
Awesome.
And the only way that can happen is if you go in 100-100, not 50-50.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing a lot of these nuggets of gold that people can take away. Where can people find out more information about you?
Oh, thank you. You can check us out on our website, yblnow.com. It gives you a synopsis as to who we all are. I'm actually so blessed to be just a co-founder and member of the community, but it really is about like-hearted and like-minded people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Penny. Thank you for having me today.
And thank you all for being here, because what I'm hearing from Chuck is when you take care of you and how you show up, that's going to take care of the relationship. So that's important. And very often we're not taking that space to do, using my language, to do that reset that Chuck talked about, whether it's coming back to our wants and our needs and that energy, that state that we're in order to be able to receive and also to give. So thank you all again for being here. My name is Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes. just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.